Hello everyone, and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, welcome. My name is Shelly, and it's all about books over here. And today we're diving deeper into the controversy surrounding the Australian author Tori Woods, who I found out through this entire debacle. Her real name is actually Lauren Teflin Mastrosa. Forgive me if I'm pronouncing that wrong, but I tried my best. Yeah, so Tori Woods is actually her pen name, and that's not weird. Quite a lot of authors have it, and that's completely fine. But the controversy is actually around her novel, Daddy's Little Toy. Ugh, guys, this entire situation, it's been a lot. The case itself has ignited intense debates on the boundaries of fiction, and considering what happened recently, it's also sparked debates about like the legal interpretations of child abuse material and the responsibilities of authors and publishers. So today what we're going to do is really going to explore the intricacies of this entire situation. Everyone, hang on to your bootstraps. Now, at the time that I am recording this, I'm only aware of the case that's come up against her, as in the legal case, and obviously the drama that went on Threads when it first got revealed to book creators and this and that. When this video is posted, more things could have come about, but yeah, just keep that in mind. So, let us first go into the novel itself and the novel's content, which is actually the focus of the controversy, if we're being honest. So her book is Daddy's Little Toy, and it's marketed as this dark romance book, and it portrays a relationship between an 18-year-old young lady and her father's friend. Now, I know that forbidden romance is a popular or semi-popular trope in romance novels. I don't read too many romance novels, but I do know that that is a popular trope. And I know that this pairing, this type of pairing, father's best friend and this and that, or, someone who's the age of my father, I know that that pairing has been explored before, but there is a bit more to it, because even when it's been explored before in other books, it has sparked discussion about what should be allowed, and people are always uncomfortable with age gap romances, and it's really a case of, well, if everyone is legal, if both parties are legal, then everyone should mind their business. It's been a lot of conversations on this before, but in this situation there's a bit of a twist, okay, because in the book, the narrative becomes particularly contentious due to the fact that the male character, he's admitted that he's desired the protagonist, the 18-year-old young lady, since she was 3 years old. Guys, when this all blew up on Threads and it was really kind of, sparking so much conversation, when I read that part, in my head, all I could think of was like, okay, so you've desired a 3-year-old before. And I'm just like, if you've watched Dora, in my head I'm going, should we have Dora come before you and really just be like, can you say grooming? Well done. That's all I could think. That obviously sparked a lot of conversation, but it's the way that the author or whoever was with the author kind of doubled down, not just with the content, but the physical book, because the cover design featuring children's alphabet blocks spelling out the title, it really just further amplifies, everyone's concern that what exactly are you selling through this book? Because everyone is now just concerned about the themes and the potential normalization of child exploitation, not just by the content, but by the cover itself. So it was a lot when it first came about. It was a lot of like, whoa, 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 whoa. And so the novel's release, it sparked, as you can expect, significant outrage, especially on the online book communities. I first heard about it on book Threads. I haven't really seen too much about it on booktok, but I'm sure they're discussing it. BookTok is always ready. Yeah, readers and critics, they accuse the book of romanticizing pedophilia and child grooming. And I mean, are you surprised? Are any, like, anyone surprised that that's what we're concerned about, considering the content and the marketing of the book. Discussions obviously kept going and kept going and kept going, and they rapidly escalated as well. And well, if you're not on BookTok, you probably don't know. But on BookTok doesn't play games. The BookTok community is always ready. And so with the discussions escalating, quite a few people started calling for the book's removal from sale, and quite a few people were calling for legal action against the author. Now, the virality of these conversations, it underscores the influential role of social media in shaping public opinion and mobilizing collective action against perceived harmful content. Now, in cases where some people are just doing the most, obviously we can then have a debate, we can then have a conversation about how the actual power and the influential role of social media is a bit dangerous. But in situations like this, I'm like, I really appreciated social media's influence in this situation, because personally, as everything was going on, I still couldn't believe it. I took so much time to process, which is why this video might be a bit late for some of you who might have seen someone, else talking about this on YouTube. But I just couldn't wrap my head around the fact that she had this idea, Tori Woods. She had this idea, she thought about it, and then she researched it, and then she started writing it down. And then she continued researching, continued writing it down. And never in her mind did she think, or did she stop and say, actually, this is very, very disturbing material. This goes, because obviously we know that the subgenre of dark romance, we know that it explores, dark topics or dark characters. Is there no line though? Like, I don't read dark romance. So I don't really know what's normalized in this community, but if something like this is normalized and there isn't a clear boundary of what is acceptable, regardless of dark or light, or I don't give a heck, then I'm so sorry, but we have a problem, because absolutely not. That is not acceptable. I don't care how you spin it. Now, with, like I said, with the controversy just bubbling, and people talking and talking and talking, well, we know that there was going to be action. Now, for us who have been on BookTok and we kind of know the power of BookTok, we've seen before how books with questionable content have been pulled by publishers. And so when all this was happening, that's what I expected. I expected, a news release from her publisher, from herself, something saying, after much consideration, after hearing your input, after seeing your outrage, la 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 la, the classic publicity statement, we've decided to take it down and, review the book, la di da di da. That's what I expected. Oh, but it went further, okay? So on March 21st, 2025, following multiple complaints, and this doesn't surprise me. Like I told you, I knew the people were ready. But following multiple complaints, New South Wales police, they arrested her. See, this is why I said I was a bit whoa, because I'm expecting her publisher to take her down, backlash. I'm expecting that. That is within the realm of possibility in my head. I'm just like, it never really goes further than that. They arrested her. They arrested her at her residence as well, and I believe that's in Quakers Hill, Sydney. Now, just so I don't get anything wrong, I'm going to read everything that happened. So, the authorities, they seized several hard copies of the novel for forensic examination, and she was subsequently charged with producing, possessing, and disseminating child abuse material, and was granted conditional bail to appear before Blacktown Local Court on March 31st, 2025. First and foremost, well, I won't even lie. I was surprised, because I think this happened fairly quickly, because this all kind of happened in the month of March. People talking about the book, the news about the book, like it all kind of happened around the, in the month of March. So the fact that she got arrested on the 21st, and she has, she hasn't given bail, but she's been asked to present herself in March, in court on March 31st. I was like, that is quick. I'm like, okay, Australia, you people are on it. I liked. And I think part of the reason why a few of us, not just me, because I know a few other people were shocked as well. I think one of the reasons that a few of us were shocked is the fact that in other countries, I think that this would have, the most that would have happened would be the publishers just taking her book down. Because, and I cannot remember the name because I was not about to mess with menace behavior, but I remember there was a scandal, not a scandal, but a controversy on book talk before. And I kind of heard it in passing. I didn't see the book, I didn't see the author, I didn't really see too much of the conversation. So I couldn't even report on it. I didn't really see anything. But there were like in passing, I just kept hearing people refer to the author who wrote a book where it was similar to this, where there was a young lady who was in love with this adult, and this adult knew her since she was a young child. And so people were just like, what the heck? Is this not grooming, or are we not going to talk about it? And so when this one came about, again, I'm thinking, oh, so, we're just going to report it, and then her publisher is going to, cancel her book deal, and that's about it. It's sad that a lot of times this is, how far we can take something when it comes to accountability, but it is still accountability, and that's good. But I think because we're so used to, there being, a limit to what we can do as a community online, I don't think most people expected this. But in researching, I found that in Australia, the legal definition of child abuse material, it encompasses not only real images, but also fictional depictions, including written content that describes sexual conduct involving minors. So, both New South Wales and Commonwealth legislation are explicit in their regard. And so that is what basically led to her getting arrested. Because I think in a few countries, it would be a case of, oh, no one real is being harmed. And so they would have a limit to what they could actually do and what they could actually chase up with this entire situation. But the Crimes Act in Australia, it specifies that child abuse material includes representations that depict or describe in a way that reasonable persons would regard as being, in all the circumstances, offensive sexual conduct involving minors. So they said, oh, no, 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 no. You guys thought you could find a loophole and do it in a book? Absolutely not. Okay. Everybody's going to get it. And I was like, I actually really, really, really appreciate that, simply because when you read about crimes, a lot of the time you see that the perpetrator, there would be warning signs. Essentially, there would be warning signs in the sense of, recently in the UK there was a young gentleman who, he committed a murder against, I believe, his mother and sister, or mother and brother. I just remember it was his household, essentially. And they found footage of him essentially rehearsing how he was going to do it. Like, he had like a fake weapon, and he's just like, he was literally rehearsing the act in itself. And that's not the first time we've seen something like this. A lot of times perpetrators, they will go through, they will have a run through. There was a young lady who was attacked in her apartment. No, not attacked in her apartment, attacked in a public space. And the perpetrator, he planned everything. He went into the space ahead of time and kind of basically locked her in so that she would have nowhere to escape. Perpetrators, especially when it's premeditated, they premeditate and then they go through every step. And so this whole idea that, fictional works, is where the line stops, is a dangerous precedent. So I think with Australia having this law where it's just like fictional, non-fictional, we don't care, we are coming for you, I think that is really, really good. Obviously, there has to be quite a lot to detail in there, but just from, an initial view of this law, it looks like it is here to safeguard. And I very much appreciate that so much. Now, prior to her arrest, Tori, she addressed the backlash on her now deactivated social media accounts. And like I said, we expected this. The publisher, the author, whenever there is backlash, whenever there's controversy, we expect them to address it. That's completely fine. the way she addressed it, though. So essentially, she described the situation as a huge misunderstanding. She emphasized that Daddy's Little Toy, her book, was a fictional work, and stated Daddy's Little Toys Daddy's Little Toy, sorry, is definitely not promoting or inciting anything ever to do with child sexual abuse or pedophilia. Mm, I don't know how she could write that statement and not put two and two together. I'm just like, it's blatantly stated that the guy in question in your book desired, that was the word used, desired the female main character in the book, who only just turned 18, by the way, so literally just an adult, depending on which country you're in, because some countries it's 21, but he's desired her since she was 3. Now, the way I'm reading that is you desired her in a sexual capacity when she was a child. Now, if that's not promoting anything to do with pedophilia, I don't, that's the thing. When I read the statement, I'm just like, is 1 and 2 not clicking for her? Like, is she not putting these two together? Is this how she got this far? I don't understand. It's actually wild. And obviously, despite her defense, the book was removed from platforms like Amazon and Goodreads, because they obviously, when the community comes together, we can do some great things. And one of those things is getting your book removed. Obviously, like I said before, there's certain times when you're just like, ooh, the influence that the online community has can get dangerous. But in this instance, I'm so sorry. It was warranted and it was good, and I appreciate it. Professionally, Tori, she stood down from her role as a marketing executive in the organization that she worked in, because there's now a pending investigation with everything happening, and I find that wild. Not just because her organization is investigating her as well, but it's the organization that she worked for. She worked for a Christian organization in Australia, writing dark romance about like pedophilia. It just, there's so much to say there. I'm just like, oh my goodness, God have mercy. And he will probably be the only person to have mercy on her right now, because, huh? Oh goodness, oh goodness. Now, a spokesperson for that organization, it said, Baptist Care takes matters of ethical conduct seriously. Our focus remains on upholding the values and integrity of our organization, which is great. They're just like, oh, you're not playing well. We not finna have it. Get out while we investigate. And if we find that you really are a menace, you finna go. They didn't say that last part, and obviously I very much rephrased everything that they said. But y'all get the gist. Y'all get me. Now, the controversy also affected individuals associated with the book's production. And why wouldn't it? Because you guys went through everything and still allowed this book to come out. Like, from the content, anyone who was involved in editing, nah. Immediately no. The name, Daddy's Little Toy. Anyone who was involved in that as well, immediately no. You're out. The design of that cover. Anyone who was involved in that as well, immediately no. Why would it not affect you guys? You guys were part of this absolute chaos. Why would it not affect you? I'm so sorry. I feel like, you know what? She wrote it. She started this entire mess, okay? So yes, bulk of the blame will go on her. But as the people surrounding her, all of you, we will put the blame on you as well. Share the blame. All of you come together and share the blame. I'm so sorry. You guys deserve blame in it as well. So the cover designer, whose name is Georgia Stove, she publicly distanced herself from Tori, which I'm so sorry. People be real funny. How can you distance yourself? You created the cover. Now, I understand that authors will have like a vision sometimes about what they want, but this is where integrity matters, because you have the right to be like, no, I'm not taking this job. Okay, God bless you. No, I'm not taking it. Okay. So the fact that you're now distancing yourself when you heard the brief, accepted the job, designed it, and now you want to say, oh, I wasn't part of it? No. You're part of it. You can distance yourself all you want. You can distance yourself all you want. You are part of this. Thank you. So sorry. Thank you. But this is where it's a bit too. because Georgia has now stated that she was unaware of the book's content and had only known the blurb, which described it as barely legal. Even then, I'm like, did that did that not make you want to question more? The barely legal itself gives me the ick. I'm just like, barely legal. Whenever I hear someone was just like, oh, dating someone barely legal, going after someone who's barely legal, immediately I think of you as a predator. Because it's the fact that you're acknowledging that they're barely legal. Is that something that you were watching for? Like you were waiting that they until the point that they came of age, or you know what, you're seeing barely legal as a case of you know what, I would like them younger, but they're barely legal, they're barely over the age. Now obviously these are just random thoughts. She genuinely could have just had like just a momentary lapse of judgment where she was just like, oh, this guy is dating a barely legal girl, you know, and they want me to create this title. But oh guys, I want to give the cover artist grace. I do, but this entire situation is just so icky. Okay, because I can see the justification being, some girls do have a father fetish, a father, I don't know what to call it, but they date guys who would be their father's age. Some girls, do have that. It's a preference, sure. But, toy blocks. Did that not to you give this is speaking to children. Maybe I should even ask a bit more questions to get a bit more details. I mean, maybe it didn't, and which is why I want to give her grace. Maybe this cover artist really did not think for a second that this would have themes of pedophilia. Yeah, so I'll give her grace, but the grace is tough. It's tough, but it's okay. It's okay. And one thing I will say is there's accountability here, but people take things far every time, and this is why we can't have anything nice. Okay, the cover artist reported receiving death threats, and obviously she urged people to stop the harassment. Guys, accountability is taking accountability, maybe losing your business, depending on how far you guys really went. Maybe, community service, jail time. I don't know, because remember, this is potentially deeper than we know. We don't know how far it went. But as a cover artist, like honestly, she was just making a cover. She probably, like she said, she probably didn't know anything to do with the actual content of the book and its deeper themes. And even with Tori Woods, who this is very, very questionable. Guys, let's stick with justice, okay? Let's stick with justice, accountability, justice. No death threats, please. No threatening. Please, please, please don't run up on her and say, I'm gonna please, no, please. The thing is, I understand that people are very, very upset because any time anything to do with children comes up, obviously it's going to rile up everyone because they are, the innocent among us. They know nothing. And so exploitation of children, yes, we don't care for exploitation of any human beings, but exploitation of children I know always hits harder because innocent little ones, you just can't. And this is absolute, guys, even as I was preparing to make the video, I was just like, I don't even want to make this video because I love kids, and so I can't. So if, not if, but when updates come through, I don't know if I'll give you guys an update because this entire case, this entire situation was so disturbing, is so disturbing. And I'm just like, I don't want to be revisiting. I might keep updates, but I probably won't just keep coming back and giving videos. It's just too much. But yeah, like, I know people are hurt. I understand that aspect, but death threats is a no-no. Even I know some people are even like threatening violence, not death threats specifically, but still violence against Tori and the people involved. Also a no-no. I know everyone is hurt, and if especially if it hits close to home, people are just like, nah, down with them. Let's look to justice. Let's look to the system to actually do its investigations and assign appropriate justice, whatever that might be. Okay, let's not do it. Let's not do it, guys. I know. Now, Beyond that, the case itself, this entire case, it raises significant questions about the boundaries of creative expression and the legal definitions of child abuse material. We've seen what Australia determines it to be. We know that some countries probably haven't gone that far as to label even fiction works as abuse material, or it's not one that they'll prosecute anyway. But this entire situation, it's prompted, or it just prompts on a whole a broader discussion on how societies balance the protection of vulnerable individuals with the right to freedom of expression in literature and art. Now, Australia's stringent laws, they reflect a zero tolerance policy towards any material that could be perceived as normalizing or promoting child exploitation, even in fictional contexts, like we said. Furthermore, the incident, it highlights the evolving role of social media in content regulation. Because anytime social media catches a whiff of something that is not right, you better believe they're coming, and they're not going to stop until there is action. Okay. And yeah, like I said, there's a lot of discussion to be had. Online platforms have become arenas, basically, where public opinion can rapidly coalesce, leading to real world consequences. And a lot of times those real world consequences are very much deserved. But sometimes we do know that a lot of the real world consequences are, no, absolutely not. Because, yeah, they go beyond what we can think sometimes, like in this situation, but it comes with real world consequences for individuals and organizations. 100%. We've seen organizations blow, we've seen organizations crumble because of the power of social media. It just shows there's so much influence there. And this dynamic, it underscores the need for authors and publishers, speaking to you as always. Yeah, it underscores the need for them to be acutely aware of societal norms and boundaries when exploring sensitive themes. Yes, legal boundaries, but just social boundaries as well. Because if the law didn't say, "Oh, this is not right," are you gonna do it? Are you gonna do it in this situation specifically? Okay, in this situation specifically, are you gonna do it, guys? This entire controversy, surrounding this Daddy's Little Toy book and Tori Woods and her arrest. Wow, it's been a lot, but it really does serve as, a complex case study at the intersection of fiction, law, and ethics. And law and ethics, I feel like, they've always kind of paired together, but now bringing fiction into it, it's like, oh, okay, this is a very, very interesting mix here. But yeah, this entire controversy just underscores the responsibilities that come with creative expression. For us who are creatives and who are artists in whatever way, shape, or form, whether that be painting, music, writing, spoken word, whatever it might be, we see these, forms of expression as, just outlets, and it's absolutely amazing. And we love that, creative expression is being so widely encouraged, and it's absolutely amazing. But there are responsibilities that come with creative expression, especially when dealing with sensitive topics. And I feel like sometimes we don't think about that enough, because we have all seen our fair share of controversies and scandals with creators, crossing the boundary to create. And it's not, no, it's not good. But yeah, as this case unfolds, it will undoubtedly continue to fuel debates on censorship, artistic freedom, and the protection of minors in literature and in life. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see the discourse around it, but it'll really be interesting to also see how this case unfolds. Like I said, I probably won't report on this. If anything, if I'm reporting on something else, I might give you guys, oh yeah, quick update. This is what happened. She got sentenced. She didn't get sentenced, whatever. But to speak about this and watch the case unfold, I feel like that's really just going to wreck or do something to my mental that I'm going to avoid for my better well-being. If you definitely want to keep up with the case, obviously do so 100%. don't do it at the risk of your mental health. But obviously, out of curiosity and, wanting to see accountability, yeah, feel free. Can't promise I'm gonna give you too much though. But yeah, guys, this is the entire situation, and yeah, we're going to see how it unfolds. But yeah, as always, thank you guys for watching. Do let me know, what are your thoughts on the whole situation, especially on the fact that like Australia's laws are like more stringent than we've seen in other places, and so she's actually facing arrest. Because I've seen some content online that honestly, if you were in Australia, you're probably getting arrested. You're probably getting arrested because where's the line? Where's the line? And I'm not talking about like child abuse content. I just mean like, dark content. I'm just like, where's the line? I don't live in Australia, so I don't really know all their laws and all that. But it's interesting. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And obviously, as usual, if you want more, because we're going to be discussing so much on this channel in the world of literature, and yeah, just having fun. So do be sure to stick around and subscribe if you are not already, so that you can, be up to date with all latest topics and controversies and commentaries as well. But yeah, for now, I will see you guys later and we can catch up. Bye.